Music has the power to transport us through space and time. Whether you're working out, trying to relax, or setting the mood for a little you-know-what with your you-know-who, we all benefit from music's ability to give us the vibe or mood that we're looking for. Rock music is a perfect example of this. There's nothing more enthralling than the riffing guitar, the impassioned vocals, and the steady beat of a drum in a rock band. And when a rock band can set the mood or the vibe just right, I get really into it.
Nerd alert.
The second renaissance of overnight sensation rock bands can be traced back to its epicenter, the Pacific Northwest. Washington and Oregon have set the pace for the industry with more rock bands per capita than any other part of the country. Rather than looking at this as well, everybody does that there, I see this as a bunch of vibrant and talented artists bringing the best cultural export that their region has to offer. There's plenty of examples. You go to Wisconsin for good cheese, California for good beaches, Vermont for... Well, actually, no, nobody goes to Vermont.
Who cares? Who's going to Vermont?
But you go to Washington for good rock music. This brings me to our guests on the show today, the band Midnight Atmosphere. They rock, they roll, they hail from the Seattle, Washington area, and they're coming out with some amazing new music, part of which they're going to share with us on the show today. I'm excited to welcome them now, Midnight Atmosphere. How's it going, guys?
Hey, doing good.
Great. Well, why don't you each take an opportunity to introduce yourselves to the audience, and then we'll just dive right in.
All right, I'm Brian. I'm the keyboard player slash singer slash producer of Midnight Atmosphere.
I'm Michael Schaumler. I am creator, founder, guitarist, lead singer, promoter, graphic designer, whip cracker. Of the band.
Emphasis on the cracker. I'm just kidding.
Oh boy.
Ginger power.
All right, I'm Florian. I play drums, and that's it. I'm Ryan. I play bass, and I help write stuff every once in a while.
I'm Ishan. I play lead guitar for the band.
Great. Well, it's great to have you all here with me. Why don't we take a crack at this? How did the band get together? How did you guys start off? Are you all in the same high school graduating class, or where'd you all come from?
Well, Brian and I went to middle school together.
Yeah.
And then we were in a band together in like 2009. And then he joined this band in 2012.
After like a brief break from the band.
And then Florian and I met in college. I think Ryan we met on Facebook. Or for a friend of a friend?
I don't remember. It was something like... No, I think it was Facebook.
Yeah, it was like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And then Sean we met through bandmix.com.
Yeah.
He's like, he messaged me like, hey, are you guys looking for another guitarist? And he came over with his like fancy guitar and his cool beard, and here he is. Yeah.
Gotta have at least one cool beard. Whoa, did it again.
Oh,
yeah.
That's two.
Just insulted everyone but Flo, dude.
For people that don't know, Michael and I he's my brother-in-law, so I can get away with a couple, right? So
he gets a total of 3.
You got one more.
Yep. One more burn.
No, but I've been a fan of your guys' music for a while. I think it was pretty early on knowing Michael that he told our Alexa to play one of your songs, and she did, and I was like, whoa, they're on like Amazon Music and all these other platforms, so that was cool. I'm repping the merch today. Fans of my show know that I wear this wristband pretty much every episode. It's a Midnight Atmosphere, and it's got little sparklies on, like glitter on it, but it looks like stars, which is cool. I like your guys' sound. I think you're great. I know you've got some new music you're going to show us, but tell us a little bit about what the vision for the band is. What are your goals? Do you just try to get together and have some fun, or perform at some local venues, or what really are you guys getting at by getting together to make music?
If you ask me that question at a different time of day, I'd probably give you a different answer, because I think our main goal is just kind of do what we kind of want a band to do, and some days that's just, get together, hang out, have fun, and then other days we want to plan big stuff, like maybe someday go on tour and stuff.
I agree with that. I think the same thing for me. If you asked me that question in the morning, I'm like, we're going to seize the day. We're going to carpe diem the crap out of this, and we're going to make a new band logo and write 10 songs and go on tour. I think it really depends. But my goal has always been to create fun listening music that has a positive message that's any age group can listen to, and just to explore new avenues of making things fun. If you're not having fun, It's not worth it.
We've got some new music for you guys to introduce, but before we get into that, I'd like to know a little bit more about your sound. How would you describe your genre and sort of the vibe or feel that you put out there? Who would you say your band might be a little bit like? I don't want you to get too blasphemous and mention anybody that might get into a little turf war.
We don't sound like anybody else.
Greatest band. So original.
I've heard recently that this guy here sounds like Harvey Danger.
I've been hearing that for years.
Yeah.
I've been hearing it recently. Other than that, I've been compared to like the Killers. I've been compared to like
Okay, go.
Okay
Yeah,
Go
I know,
sometimes.
yeah.
A little bit of the Smiths.
What the synth?
Green
If you,
Day.
if you guys can do music videos like OK Go, then you're like superhuman. Yeah, they're
If we had their creative genius and budget, absolutely.
Budget. Yeah.
But yeah, any other thoughts on, before we get into the new song Whiteboard, any other thoughts on here's what we were really going for, maybe trying to be a little different with this specific piece of music versus stuff you've made before? What kind of led you to this song in particular? I know we've gone over the backstory before, but tell me a little bit more about this and how it makes it and how it's different from your other music.
We wanted to rock a lot harder than our previous recordings in the past, and this was our first I wouldn't say it's our first attempt, but it's our first good attempt,
Solid attempt
at it.
yeah.
And as for the origin of the song, we used to write our ideas on a whiteboard, and I think Michael wrote this chord progression down, and he wrote it down with a permanent marker that we didn't realize until
Afterwards.
we were clearing the board because we switched to digital. But it was so much later we were like, what was this song? So we
played it.
We
and I was
reintroduced
like,
the chords and we're like, you know what? We should actually use this.
Yeah, so we wrote the song Whiteboards, and it's about writing down a really good idea and then forgetting about it and then not coming back to it till much later. And the answer is right in front of my nose this entire time. And I think that song has a lot of symbolism in there about improvement in your life. Like maybe you're lost and not knowing what to do. Like maybe you should just kind of go back and look at where you've been and see if there's some answers there. So, yeah.
And in terms of the writing stuff too, I think that a big focus on the recording aspect for this song has been really just polishing it really well.
Oh yeah.
Because I think this is probably the best we've sounded on a recording ever.
I agree.
I think so. That's a big accomplishment too. And then Sean's little guitar licks. Those
Oh, yeah.
add a whole other dimension.
Sean has been a blessing.
Really.
He just adds he adds that little bit of pop punk that we've been missing. Because I've been the only guitarist in this band for 10 years. This guy comes in out of left field and it's
It definitely comes across as with the lyrics, with the song, with how it was mixed, and even with the shooting of the music video, a lot of TLC went into Whiteboards. So I think we should go ahead and give it a listen. What do you guys say?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do it.
Here you go.
Been hiding in plain sight for one too many nights. So little time
Wow, that was awesome, guys. So, how do you feel at the end of an experience like that, getting to show new music and have it just right off into the sunset like that?
I will say it's finally a relief to release something that kind of gives the buzz I think it needed. And it's not like this is definitely the best effort we've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's glad to see that it's getting the love out there.
Yeah, the song's been out for like a month now, and it's got like 30,000 streams online, like between all of our platforms. So like, it's good to know that people are enjoying this song. We even had it rated on Reverb Nation. We had 50 people write reviews on the song, and like some of them are pretty harsh, but like for the most part, we got a 7.8 out of 10, and I'll take that.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good.
I think at the end of the day, it's getting reviewed and rated, so that says something about it right there. I'm not gonna exactly. I'm not gonna say this show isn't entirely to the scale I want it to be, but I've started to get messages from people I don't know who are like, the ending of your video sucked, and I'm like, you watched the whole thing, and I'm not even related to you.
My favorite negative review I've read so far, and this was in a sea of like a ton of positive reviews,
Right.
but there was one negative review. It was like, I like the song, but then I read the lyrics. Now I don't like the song anymore. That was it.
Yeah.
That was the entire sentence.
Wow.
Seldom wondering where, when, or why.
Was he not reading the lyrics were literally getting written in front of his face the whole time? So
Literally,
Yeah.
you know what? And Brian was the
true.
genius behind that. He like wrote them all down on the whiteboard, and Florian sped it up to the sound of the lyrics. And I'm like, they're right there in front of you. What's not to like?
Yeah.
that's funny.
I don't get bothered by negativity too much unless it's like somebody I actually know, because I guarantee you
personal.
the stuff that random person listens to, I would probably consider to be absolute garbage, and
Yeah.
they think it's like, oh my god, the greatest music ever. So
Yeah, anything on the internet's gonna have like that one person that doesn't like it.
exactly.
Just-
So that's why I was surprised by that Reverb Nation review, because like usually those reviews are like scathing, and for a 7.8, like that's pretty good for an indie pop punk band, you know?
Let's do another.
No, I mean, you guys are getting it done. I guess one thought I had while I was watching that and listening to you, have you guys had a chance to perform this one live yet?
We have we played
before
we
this,
played it
yeah.
live at El Corazon last year,
Oh yeah.
and we will continue to play it live at our next couple shows.
Plug them.
Yeah, so we have a show on Saturday, May 6th at the Royal Room in Seattle. We are also playing at the Skylark on Friday, July 14th.
Nice.
And we're also playing at the High Dive on August 24th. Yeah, and here are the posters.
Those posters look great. Yeah.
It looks so good.
Well, moving right along here, I think a lot of kids want to get into being a part of a band or starting a band. I'd love to hear from each of you. What advice would you have for kids or even people who've grown up a little bit that want to get into a band and don't really know what to do? Maybe they don't have a friend that plays the drums and they wouldn't know where to start. What would you say to someone like that?
Take music classes.
Yeah.
That was I think that's my biggest regret, is because I was self-taught everything I know.
Same.
I
Me
didn't
as well.
take many music classes until college, but like I've seen other students there, and they just get together and kind of form a band, and they suck the first time, but you know what? It's a learning experience, and for the next one, and then you kind of just go from there.
Yeah.
It's generally I would just say, just do it, because like there's always a part of me that's like, oh, I'm nervous, I don't know if I'm gonna do this right, but I'm like, every time I do it, I'm like, you know what, this is great. So
Yeah. I would say also, like, don't be afraid to fail, because you will.
Exactly.
You will fail. You will play a show where no one shows up. You will play a show where your amp blows up and you have the flu. You will play a show where you've sold a bunch of tickets, you lose 5, and then don't get to play your own CD release.
Oh, that was fun.
That's a long story.
So, we'll get into it. But, like, the biggest thing about playing music with other people is finding a cohesive way of expressing your voice through music and blending all of your musical preferences and tastes together. Like,
And
Ryan,
keeping your ego out of it.
and keeping your ego out of
It's
it.
like
yeah.
you're all, you get embarrassed when you think, oh, you're not as good as somebody else in the band, or you think you're better than somebody in the band, and there can be some tension there sometimes, and that'll happen with any group. But
Yeah.
if you're humble about it, and that's the big thing. Is you're not in a competition. You're collaborating. You're not trying to be better than the guy next to you. You're trying to work with him. So
Exactly.
that's the important part.
And you learn from each other too. Like I didn't know how to do like a pinch harmonic until a previous member of the band taught me how to, and I wouldn't have learned had I not asked them, like, hey, how do you do that? That's all comes from a place of humility. And also when it comes to like blending different genres together, like Ryan's really into like old school punk, and like I'm into pop punk and alternative rock, and Florian likes metal, and Sean likes metal, and Brian likes
Everything.
everything else. And so when you put all those tastes together, like, I want to sound like this and this and this and this and this, and you're putting everyone's thoughts together, you create something unique. But if one person's like, no, we're going to sound like this or else, and that isn't going to get anyone anywhere.
Well, that can work with a certain kind of group, right?
Yeah, it's a
Like,
blend.
you have to have someone who's like a really, really good leader, and you
Yeah.
have to have like people who are on the same page, right?
Yeah.
And if everybody's agreed to that, that's great. But in terms of like just starting, that's not the right way to go about it.
I think what works for us is like we all bring a lot to the table, all five of us, and we all bring a lot of preference together. But when we come together, we feed off each other's ideas, and there's like a healthy compromise when it comes to building a specific sound for what is Midnight Atmosphere. It's not just my preference; it's all of us together.
I think that's a good point, because a lot of what we do is like very organic. Like we sit down and learn the structure of the song together and all that, but it's not like Michael had, you're gonna play, unless there's like a specific thing he wants at a certain time on a certain song. He's not always like, okay, you have to play this here, you have to play that there. We kind of just learn how the song works, and then Sean will come up with something just completely off the cuff.
The chord
Ryan will
here
come
is
up with
B.
something.
Just go with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very organic, and you get everybody's like flavor that way very
Yeah.
naturally, and I really like that about this.
And I
band.
do that intentionally too, so not like being a dictator when it comes to like, you play this chord progression here and nothing else. Like, here's the notes I'm playing. Have fun with it.
Because if you actually do that, if you think about it, if you go like note for note and everything like that, it's like very robotic.
And it
It's
restricts
very-
creativity.
It's
It's
very,
very much like a natural thing going on in the group. We have like a baseline to go off of, maybe a song Michael brings in or Brian brings in, anything like that. But down the line on the final recording, everyone has their own flavor on it, and you can pick that out. You can hear that.
I think
Someone's starting out, right?
the big important thing also is you just have to go places where there's other musicians. Like you
Yes.
said, music class is a
Yes.
good one. Small shows, like
yeah.
depending on your age, like
Meet
I don't know,
people.
community center things, small gigs, and then don't be afraid to
Music
talk to
stores.
people. Music stores.
Music stores.
Don't be afraid to talk to people. Make friends, introduce yourself,
Yeah.
go keep connections going, and if somebody will know someone who needs like a harmonica player or something,
Bass player.
bass player,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest thing, and it's hard to do that nowadays because I think people are more just expecting like everything to just happen like online, and we've met a lot of we all met online really with me, but
Yeah,
a lot of other guys I've met and joined bands with like other times, like I just bumped into them random places, So-
we met at Safeway.
Yeah.
The frozen foods aisle.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can meet somebody anywhere, but I think, and online's more common than anything these days. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to practice together and obviously perform live. So that aspect comes into, you're going to have to be face to face with people, and they're going to be sitting there. Okay, I paid money for a ticket. Show me what you got. That can be a little nerve wracking. I've done it with comedy. A bunch of people have done it with other performing arts. You guys have done it playing at venues. What's the best strategy, now that we've given some advice to a new artist, for managing stage anxiety once you're up there in front of people?
Ooh, stage anxiety.
One thing that I know is like if you do end up making a mistake, don't act like you made a mistake.
Yeah.
Just carry
That's
on.
rule
Just
number
keep
one.
going.
His line he told me was, performing on stage is 10% talent, 90% confidence.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because like most of the time the people you're playing with aren't like professional musicians. They just hear something good and they're like, yeah. Good
Yeah.
music. So like if you make a note mess up here, like you're 1 cent off a note or you're the semitone or whatever, you're not going to notice. And
No.
So like, you don't. My point is like, don't overthink it. Just kind of
Go
do
with
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you mess up, just don't make it look like you messed
Exactly.
up. Just move on to the next note. You can't go back and fix it.
Being nervous is totally normal.
One thing
Exactly.
also about like being on stage is you can't see anyone because the lights are so bright. They can see you, so maybe that's nerve wracking. But I have like, whenever I perform in a venue where there's like stupidly hot, bright stage lights, I don't get nervous because I'm like, oh, I'm just staring out into the void.
It
Right.
gets hot on stage, and
Oh, yeah.
sweating is normal, but like, don't worry about that stuff.
It's like
Because like, I just think of
It
like
is.
Freddie Mercury from Queen. Like, he's like one of the best performers, frontmen ever, and he like is a waterfall on stage.
just here is it sweaty in here.
Right, and Dan Reynolds rips his shirt off and uses it as like a sweat rag, and then throws it into the crowd. I mean, I probably wouldn't go that far, but no, but I know how it feels to be up on stage and not see the audience. Now, when you're doing something like stand up, you can tell you're jiving with the audience because the joke goes out and the laughter comes back. Is there something similar with music where you might feel like improvising the guitar riff because you could feel people jiving with it? Is it that they're all moving around, or you can just tell by the energy in the room? But what's the cue that you can actually
There's
play with and
there's
improvise?
moments
Yeah.
there.
Clapping.
There's
Yeah.
clapping.
Clapping,
There's
headbanging,
woos when like a
jumping.
solo comes on.
Yeah.
Crowd surfing.
Crowd,
Stage
I don't know
dive.
about that one yet.
Well, usually
quite
we're not quite there yet, but like clapping.
jumping around.
A couple of people right up front is a
Open
good
up this pit.
indicator.
Oh yeah, people mouthing the words to the song while you're playing it.
Yeah.
Those,
Yeah.
those
Wall
are my
of death.
favorite. Do more of that.
Wall of
please.
death, huh?
Yeah.
Like, even without that, like, if people usually mingle in the back, they don't care. But if you see them actually gathering towards in front of the stage, then that's a good feeling. That's usually the good start of it.
Yeah.
So.
I usually welcome people all over the front. Like, if you're back there, come up
Oh, yeah.
here.
You got to do that a couple songs in though, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're begging too much.
I usually do like other couple songs, and I'm like, if my sweat's not getting onto you, you're standing too far away.
That's nasty, man.
The song's dedicated to the two people right here.
Yeah.
Just these two people, exactly.
In terms of like what gives you like the idea that something's going really well and you should just like play with it, like you'll know, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's feeling.
If you feel like you're still practicing the song when you're on stage, first of all, you didn't like practice enough, and you probably shouldn't go messing around with something. But like also, there's nothing like wrong with doing that if you
Yeah.
think that. Oh, this like you're not doing something like rote by memory. You're living through like
Yeah.
a collaborative experience.
It's a performance.
It's a
Yeah.
performance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's fluid.
If
performance.
you get the inspiration to do something different, you just kind of do it, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. But
Yeah.
no one's half the people there. Like there's your group that's come to see you play, right? And then there's the people who've come to see everybody else. So you've got probably 3 times as many people there who've never heard your band before, right?
Yeah.
So they're not going to know one way or another, and as long as you pull it off like one way, like pretty good, they're going to be impressed.
Oh, another good sign that you're doing good. People are walking in.
Yeah.
Like as the
Yeah.
as the
The
show's
bar
going
is
on.
empty. If the bar is empty, you're doing a good job.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I think this might be a good question to end on. But before we get to that, did any of you have any other thoughts you'd like to share before I ask a final question?
Well, I just want to touch on like this, us as a band. Like we've been through, a lot together as a band. We've been together for 13 years. We've had several people come in and out of the band, in and out of our lives. But I think the thing that keeps us together is the message of what we're trying to deliver as a unit. Is like we have, for the most part, positive, uplifting lyrics that are meaningful and profound, and we want to spread a good message that things are not as bad as they seem, and there's positivity amidst darkness. I think like last time Anthony and you and I talked, you wanted to know like where the band name came from, like what does Midnight Atmosphere actually mean, and like I was going through a time in my life like 14 years ago when I was feeling pretty depressed and I was trying to find a creative artistic outlook to kind of relieve some of that stress, and I found myself like writing poetry because I couldn't really play guitar. I was playing bass a little bit, but I couldn't play guitar. So I found myself kind of developing insomnia, so I would be staying up at all hours of the night, and I would go outside and lay on my trampoline out in the middle of my podunk little town incarnation. And I found like that I wanted to come up with a name that was like the term I would use for the headspace I was in while I was writing lyrics. And that became the Midnight Atmosphere. It's kind of like the headspace I was in when writing song lyrics. It kind of became like a comfort zone, somewhere where I could escape to express and explore these feelings. And that's kind of been translated over the years down to like where I want to be with these guys playing music is in this space called the Midnight Atmosphere. So
That's awesome. Now everyone knows where it comes from. That's the name. So as kind of a parting thought, I guess the last question I'd have for you guys is, you've given plenty of good advice for young artists and people like you. What maybe is some good or lasting advice that has been given to you by another artist?
Well, this hasn't been given to me, but I watched this interview with James Hetfield, and he said this, and it really stuck with me. And it was if you think you're the smartest person or the best musician in a room, you're in the wrong room. You know, so I would say that's the place you want to be, is where you always think that you're taking something in.
Just one thing for me is just kind of going back to the stage anxiety thing, and just that kind of argument was just what helps me is that when I'm on stage, if on the off chance I see someone in the crowd, just focusing on my bandmates with me on stage, honestly. Like, I'll be, playing a solo or something, and Ryan will be right next to me just rocking out on the bass or something. And just seeing that kind of energy and seeing that everyone on stage, that Florian's just like killing the drums and Michael's so into the singing and Brian's just killing the keyboard is just, just seeing that there's people who are as into making music and the music we're making as me. You're not alone when you're in a band, quite literally.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it might feel like that when you're on stage, you're in your own world and playing. Like, you have other people sharing that with you as well, so.
I think the best advice that I've personally been given is don't feel ashamed to promote yourself. Sometimes people feel like, I don't want to like make my friends feel embarrassed, or I want my friends to feel burdened by me inviting them and things like, no, you're spending a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources on this one thing. Of course you want to share it with your friends and family. Yeah. So like, shamelessly self-promote your music at every possible opportunity, at work, at school, wherever. Yeah. If you have friends and family who listen to music or have a Spotify subscription, like, hey, I'm in a band, add this to your playlist.
And then you'll really know if you're doing something good or not, because those are the people that are most likely to be like honest with you about stuff.
If they don't like it, they're not gonna come up to you and be like, I don't like your music. They're gonna just be like, yeah, pretty good, and then you know what? It shouldn't bother you. Just move on to the next promotion. You're eventually gonna find someone who likes it.
You'll find your niche. Yeah, you'll find your niche.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier too, about like trying to meet people and going to just small shows and stuff. If you find a band that you like are really impressed with that plays, and they come down and they're walking around in the crowd, go tell them that they did a good job, and then strike up a conversation. And if you guys kind of jive with each other, then ask them if they can listen to what you have and give you some pointers, and maybe they'll really like it, or play a show together. Like, we've got gigs with other bands before doing that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, everybody, after you like and subscribe to this video, go ahead and check out Midnight Atmosphere's other music. Guys, why don't you go ahead and tell us where else we can find you?
Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Apple, iTunes, and whatnot.
Yeah.
We have a new album coming out this year called 4 of 5.
There's more coming.
15 more songs coming your way.
Yeah.
And we are playing live soon in Seattle, so come to our show.
Awesome. That was great. Thanks for being on the show today, guys. Everybody, Midnight Atmosphere, go check them out. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks for having us.
Adios.
Bye.
Like and subscribe.
Like,
Smash that like button.
Smash
that
subscribe button.
Hit it with the
Kick it in the face.
Punch it in its throat.
Throw it
Look at
off
its
the
cord.
balcony.
Chop off its face.
Toss him out of the helicopter.
Karate chop. Falcon punch.
I'm sorry for what I started.